Following her Drop 6 EP, as well as her incredibly well-received Grey Area album from 2019, Lil Simz is gearing up for her latest project, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, with the first single, Introvert. Both the video and the song itself are incredibly beautiful and powerful, so we had to go bar for bar and break down these lyrics. So the track starts off with this instrumental that just keeps growing until we get to Lil Simz' verse, and it's all full of kind of like an orchestra and horns and everything. It almost feels triumphant to an extent. But then we get into Lil Simz' verse. The kingdom's on fire, the blood of a young Messiah. I see sinners in a church, I see sinners in a church. So the kingdom that she's referencing here could either be the UK, because she is from London, or just the world in general. And it's on fire because of the blood of a young Messiah. So in the video, there's all these cuts to police violence. So I think that's really what she's going towards, because in the last year there's been a lot of stuff happening if you've somehow missed the news. So her saying these things makes a lot of sense. The kingdom being on fire is because basically the world's gone mad. Like, all this stuff is popping off seemingly all of a sudden. And the blood of a young Messiah could be one, or just any of the people who were murdered for no good reason by the police, if we're going to go with that idea of the kingdom being on fire. And then her saying, I see sinners in a church, I see sinners in a church. I mean, that makes sense, because if we're going, again, with the police doing the killings, I mean, a lot of them still go to church. So you'll see them in church. And it's almost like it's kind of being ignored. Like, she knows that they've sinned, but everyone else is just like, oh, they're just part of the church. It could also be, again, like if we're going a little bit more metaphorical with it, the young Messiah being Jesus, and then sinners in a church being the people who wronged him and crucified him. Sometimes I might be an introvert. There's a war inside. I hear battle cries. Mothers burying sons. Sometimes I might be introvert. Her saying that there could just be her mentioning the album title, but also sometimes she's just closed off and just wants to be left alone. That's also something that we see a lot in the video, where during the choreography in the, I think it's the Natural History Museum, she just kind of goes off on her own, even though there's a whole group of people dancing. Like, she'll just tuck herself away. So, playing into the introvert bit. She's also introverted because of all these things happening. There's a war inside. I hear battle cries, mothers burying sons. She's seeing all these things happening. Like, even though there's a war going on inside of her or inside of whatever enclosed space this is, she still has to deal with it. She's not really responding to it necessarily. So maybe during all of what was happening, she just didn't say much. And to be fair, we don't need artists to say things. Like, celebrities and artists aren't the ones that we should look to for guidance on and their opinions during times of crisis. Maybe that's also why she tucked away. But also, people deal with these things differently. The war going on inside, again, could be about the police violence. I mean, in the video, we see police setting up barricades with riot shields, essentially. Like, for what? So that is the war, and then the battle cries are the people trying to fight back. Like, people protesting, people who are against the things that the police are doing. And then the mothers bearing sons could be the sons that are killed from that. Young boys playing with guns, the devil's a liar, fulfill your wildest desires. Now, I don't want to be the one to doctor this. So, young boys playing with guns, the devil's a liar. It can be reported that these kids are being killed because they're playing with guns, but the devil's a liar. The devil being the media, the people reporting on this, or just whoever is basically saying these things to make it sound like there's no one else to blame, when in actuality there are likely other parties involved. And her saying she doesn't want to be the one to doctor this. She doesn't want to have to take on this responsibility to fix things. She doesn't want to be the doctor to the situation. Which, I mean, I get it. That's a huge responsibility, but she still wants to talk about it to some extent. But if you can't feel pain, then you can't feel the opposite. The fight between the yin and the yang's a fight you'll never win. I studying humans. That makes me an anthropologist. I'm not into politics. Following that, she doesn't want to be the one to doctor this line. She's also saying, like, yo, if you can't feel pain, how can you feel the opposite of pain? If you aren't able to empathize with people or sympathize with them, like how can you feel happy with that? Like when they're feeling happy, you're like a broken person. Like how do you not empathize with people going through something? The fight between yin and yang is a fight you'll never win. Just kind of further emphasizing that point. Like, yo, if you can't empathize, like there's something wrong. Like there has to be two sides to everything. You have to have the good with the bad, like the pain with the happiness and the good things. But I know it's dark times. Parts of the world still living in apartheid. But if I don't take this winter's flight, that's career suicide. Though I should have been a friend when your grandma died. I see the illness eat my aunt laying in her bed. I see her soul rising as her body gets closer to death. She knows it's dark times, so even though she's not into politics, you kind of have to be in these dark times to make some sort of change if you want to see change. Like you have to push for something. And continuing on the dark times, parts of the world are still living in apartheid, which is basically just like mostly in South Africa, I believe it is, but it's segregation to an extreme, to put it very simply. If she doesn't take this winter's flight, that's career suicide. Her career is going up. So if she doesn't take this flight, her career is going to suffer. But this career is literal in the sense that she is now thinking like, yo, you know what? I should have actually just been there for you, like the person that she's talking to, instead of going on this flight. Like sometimes the connections and relationships that you have with people is more important than your career, which, I mean, makes sense. I get where she's coming from. Then goes into a bridge, not quite a chorus. Find a way, I'll find a way. The world's not over. All will make it, don't you cry. In God we trust, because we're not alone. Kind of to make it sound like she's fighting for something. The world is not over. Like, we can still get out of this. Like, we can still fix things. This then goes into the second verse. I need a license to feel internal wounds that I'm not trying to be healed. I sabotage what we're trying to build because of feelings I keep inside, but it's time to reveal. She needs a license to feel. So kind of play on license to kill. She essentially needs permission to feel. That's something a lot of people have to deal with, I think. Especially in the last year, given everything that we've had to deal with. Black people, especially black women, have to deal with so much more pain. And she needs to get a license to feel so she can express herself without people basically putting in their own 2 cents. She has internal wounds and she's not trying to be healed. So internal wounds being like some sort of trauma in her past or just something going on with her internally that she doesn't want to be healed, but I think that's more of she's using that to further herself. The things that we keep locked in within us can help us grow. We don't always need to necessarily heal from it, but acknowledging it and moving on with that in our mind can help us grow. I sabotage what we're trying to build because of the feelings I keep inside, but it's time to reveal. Still carrying on that sort of thing. She's sabotaging what we're trying to build, being like some sort of change in the world. And her feeling that she's sabotaging it is due to those internal wounds or her needing a license to feel. At least that's how I took it. These feelings that are inside of her are what's causing this sabotage. But now it's time to reveal. So she's going to open up to us now. I hate the thought of just being a burden. I hate that these conversations are surfaced. Simz the artist or Simbi the person. To you I'm smiling, but really I'm hurting. So this part is where things got a little more intense for me because I was just really feeling the emotion that she was putting into it. And even though it might not sound like she's saying much, it's not easy for her to say these things. She has all these thoughts in her mind that she's a burden or like she doesn't want to have these conversations about like these thoughts in her mind. And it's tough. For her, she's like 2 different people. She's little Simz, the artist, but also Simbi, the person. You have 2 different personas essentially. And with these personas, obviously, you're not going to be the same person in either one. Like, that's very hard. It's very easy to keep your artist persona and your personal persona separate because, you know, you don't want people to know what's going on with you, or you don't want to put that out into the world necessarily. I dedicate my life and gave my heart over 20-something years, left wondering how I even feel, or was it even worth it? I bottle up and then spill it in these verses. Little Simz is, I think, about 27 now, so giving her heart. over these 20 years. This is something that she's wanted for a long time. Like, her career started in 2010, I believe, and I'm sure she's done more music prior to that. So this is something that she's been working on since she was young. But now she's like, how do I even feel? Like, was any of this really worth it? Instead of talking about it with someone, she just bottles it all up until she can spill all of this out in her verses. One day I'm wordless, next day I'm a wordsmith. Close to success, but to happiness I'm the furthest. At night I wonder if my tears will dry on their own, hoping I will fulfill Amy's purpose. One day she's wordless, one day she's a wordsmith. This is, again, something I feel like a lot of artists probably deal with. Writer's block. But it's also, I mean, in her case, if you're dealing with a lot of things, sometimes you just don't want to talk about it. But then if writing is your outlet, all of a sudden you'll have all these things to say because that's the way you express yourself. And then she's mentioning how she's getting closer to success because, again, like I said, her career is going upward. But to happiness, she's the furthest. Again, something that I think artists have to deal with sometimes. They focus a lot on their careers and their career goals, but they don't necessarily go into what makes them happy. And that also goes into depression and other mental health issues that people try not to talk about for some reason. Angel said, don't let your ego be a disturbance. Inner demon said, motherfucker, you earned this. Like they strip you of everything you deserve and realize there's a prison in us. We are conditioned as fuck. This is kind of a play on the angel and demon on your shoulder sort of thing. The angel's trying to suppress you and say, yo, don't let your ego get involved. Like, suppress that. But then the demon's also like, yo, what the fuck? You've earned the right to be like whatever you want to be. You've earned all this. It sounds like the demon is making a little bit more sense here. They strip you of everything you're deserving. If you don't fight for what you deserve or what you've earned, they'll just take it from you. They don't care. So if you are going to just kind of be passive in nature, like these things will just pass you by. Man, it's like they can't sleep till our spirit is crushed. How much fighting must we do? We've been fearless enough. All we see is broken homes and here in poverty. Corrupt government officials, lies, and atrocities. So the people that are like basically taking everything that you deserve, it feels like they can't sleep until they've stripped you of everything or until your spirit is crushed. So they want basically for you to exist for them to make money. So kind of talking about labels, but also, I mean, I think she's still independent, but you know, other people in the world are just going to keep hating on you and keep trying to suppress you when you say things like this. And they're like, no, you're not going to say these things. You don't deserve any of it. We're going to crush your spirit until you comply, essentially. And that, again, could be going into the whole police issue and with Black Lives Matters. People are basically being suppressed and told that you're not necessarily being told, but the impression is that you are not equal. So we will treat you as if you are beneath us, to the point that your spirit will be crushed. How are they talking on what's threatening the economy, knocking down communities to re-up on properties? I'm directly affected. It does more than just bother me. Look beyond the surface. Don't you see what you want to see? These government officials are talking about how certain things are affecting the economy. There's a lot of things that can affect the economy, but now they're knocking down communities to re-up on properties. Gentrification, essentially. So they're going into these lower income neighborhoods and raising the rent, or they're buying up property, pushing these people out who have been here forever, and basically replacing whatever culture or atmosphere there was with whatever is pleasant to them. Look beyond the surface. Like, don't take things at surface level or face value. Like, you have to look beyond this. Don't just see what you want to see. My speech ain't involuntary. Project with intention straight from my lungs. I'm a black woman and I'm proud one. We walk in blind faith, not knowing the outcome. But as long as we're unified, then we've already won. Her speech is not involuntary. She's not saying these things because she has to. She's saying these things because she wants to. And she's saying, she's basically projecting her, she says she's projecting her intentions straight from her lungs. Like, she's telling you straight up how she feels and what her intentions are with whatever she's saying. And what she's saying is that she is a black woman and a proud one. As long as they're all unified, like black women or black people, and or people in general, as long as we're all unified, we've already won, whatever this fight is. And this fight is definitely against inequality and injustice. Again, if you're watching the video, like, it's pretty clear, I would say. This then goes back to the bridge, which is the same as before, and then an outro. And so it begins. The bass is an amalgamation of everything. Rules are not to be played by rebels. The story of never ending. Your introversion led you here. Intuition protected you along the way. Feelings allowed you to be well balanced, and perspective gave you the foresight. The top of the mountain is nothing without the climb. Only the strong will survive. Only the strong will survive. Alone but not lonely. Your truth unveils with time, as you embark on a journey of what it takes to be a woman. The outro here is really just telling you what this album is going to be about. The track list has also come out for this album, and Introvert is the first track. So this one, as an intro track, is very solid, and it's telling you that this is going to be an album where we talk about empowerment, and this is like she says, this is going to be a journey of what it takes to be a woman, and it's going to be dope, honestly. But yeah, the outro, other than her kind of telling you her intentions for the rest of this album, is really just also meant to be motivational. Like, you should take what you're going to learn from this album and, you know, make changes appropriately, or like take that information and grow from it. So that's dope. That's the end of the track. This song, like I said, it's beautiful and powerful, and I'm glad that she made this song. If you haven't watched the video, really just watch that, because that's probably one of the best videos I've seen in a long time. I'm, again, just basing my thoughts of what the song is about based on the video. Without the video, it's hard to say exactly what it could be about, not even gonna lie. We get most of the information from the second verse, where she's talking about herself and the things going on within her. Based on the first verse, it's a little bit more vague and like bigger picture sort of thing. I am 100% looking forward to Sometimes I Might Be Introvert. This album's supposed to be dropping September 3rd, I believe it is. So look forward to that. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if I missed anything or misinterpreted anything with these lyrics, because that is 100% a possibility. As much as I like Lil Simz, I haven't gone too much into her discography and just about her. So I'm not well versed in what she may be talking about. So if you have further insight, please let me know. Also remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more content and breakdowns like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.